Now, if you're getting ready to buy an investment property somewhere in Australia, then chances are you're going to be buying in a hot market, which can have its challenges. But today's video is to give you 4 quick tips to help you buy in that hot market and still get the best possible result.
Now, the first tip for buying in a hot market is to actually have a plan.
Yes.
Understand what it is that you want to spend, get yourself pre-approved and ready to buy so that you don't find that perfect property and have to terminate on finance down the track. And, know what you want, start to understand where you want to buy, what you want to buy and what that property is going to do for you short, medium and long term.
Without a doubt. And then you really want to move into your specific property investment goals. So this is where you're really narrowing it down to maybe 2, maximum 3 suburbs that you become a pure specialist in. You really want to have an indication of what you want that property to do for you longer term as well. Are you looking to target more of a capital growth strategy, or are you looking for more cash flow, or a combination of both? Do you want to be buying in a nice big metro market that's historically outperformed the regional markets longer term? Do you want to be buying a nice big house on a big block of land? What type of quality do you want in that house as well? Is it going to be unrenovated, or is it going to be completely tenant ready? So you really want to know all of these things to avoid having to make that decision at the last hour, especially when you're in a hot market. So having clear property investment goals is so important.
I love that, man. And then I think the third, and I reckon the most important thing to do with buying in a hot market is to make it as easy as possible for yourself. Now, I'm just all about automation and making stuff simple.
Oh, yeah.
So the first thing that I do once I've identified my 3 suburbs is I sign into domain and realestate.com, depending on what's big in your area. And I set up a search. So I might go, for example, 3 and 4 bedroom houses on 500 plus square meter blocks in, Manly, on the northern beaches of Sydney, for example, as my search. And then I'll set that up as a saved search. And every single time a property comes up, any day of the week, any time of the day, I'll get an alert straight to my phone with that new property. I can quickly jump on and check it against my property investment goals. And that can save you having to jump on or jumping on 2 or 3 hours too late and missing that perfect property for you.
Because 2 or 3 hours can make a difference in a hot market. The other thing that you need to do as well is know the top performing agents in the suburb that you're buying in. So you can find this through ratemyagent.com, type in the suburb or the postcode and it'll give you a list of the top performing agents, which is whoever sells the most properties in the area. And you want to build some rapport with these agents, contact them, inspect one of the properties that they've got on the market, meet and greet, tell them your property investment goals as well, and just request to be put onto their list of off or pre-market listings.
I love that, man. And then, if you want to be more proactive, you can call those agents and just say, hey, it's Ben here. I'm looking for this type of property. I was wondering if you have anything at the moment that you haven't put on realestate.com yet. And if you make that call every week for 12 weeks, chances are they're going to be like, well, look, mate, I've got this cool one coming up. Why don't you drive by and let me know if you like it? And that can just be that edge. If 80 people are rocking up to the open home and they're getting 15 to 20 offers in the first weekend, but you've seen it early, so you feel comfortable with it, you've done your due diligence on it, and then first thing on that day you can put in a realistic offer, maybe that'll be enough to get you over the line.
I think something that you mentioned there as well, due diligence, that is super important to make it easier for yourself as well. And, there's so many ways to do that due diligence. I guess at the suburb level, it's knowing where not to buy in terms of the main roads and the busier locations. Making sure that you're avoiding any flood zones and things like this as well within an area, trying to avoid lots of public housing. Those types of things you can do and you can get a better understanding of before you even look at a property, because that information is out there and it just makes life easier, because then when you're looking through your saved searches, or if the real estate agent goes, actually, I do have this pre-market listing coming up, they send through the address. If it's not in the area or it's on a busy street, you just go, look, thank you so much, but unfortunately this isn't suitable to my goals.
I love that, man. One of the key mistakes I think a lot of people make in a busy market is thinking they have to do heaps of work and be super active. But our approach is we might, jump on realestate.com on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
I was going to say, we don't do that much work except a full-time job.
But we do it every single morning. And our job isn't to go out and book 30 inspections a week and then from those 30 properties, buy 3 or 4 of them. Our job is to look at 200 properties a week and rule them out. So what we do is a first take, like get rid of all the main roads, the schools, the major shopping centres, the commercials, the cemeteries, the stuff that we don't want to buy in the cheaper pockets of the suburbs, the stuff near the train stations. And then that's easy. You just literally open the property, look at the map. If it's not next to something that you want it to be next to, then shut the property and don't waste your time on it.
Yeah, just move on.
Then, as Simon said, we shortlist the properties that are worth having a deeper look at, and that's when you look at all the flooding, the housing commission, the overlays, what's under the ground, the landslide, the bushfire stuff, if you want to be that OCD like we are. And then if it only ticks that next level of indicators, that's the time then we're like, okay, well, what's the property going to be worth? Let's talk to the agent. If it's worthwhile, let's go book an inspection. And I think saving yourself that time and making it easy by doing as much research online as you can first, just get you the weekends back. If you've got kids like me, the last thing you want is to be dragging them around to 15 places every weekend for the next 6 months.
Yeah, wasting your time. So that's really important. And then on top of that due diligence, it's having your team ready to go as well. So having your conveyancer or solicitor on call. So, letting them know, hey, I'm getting ready to buy a property. As soon as I do, I'll be sending you through the contract. Would love some support. Same as your either mortgage broker or bank manager, having them geared. Obviously, you've already organised your pre-approval with them, so they know what the intention is. But having that team ready to rock and even potentially a building and pest inspector, because when you are buying in a hot market, which we'll get into in part 4, terms can be really, really important. So if you've got your team ready to go, then that might mean that you can reduce those terms to get yourself a more desirable offer.
Love that, man. The fourth and final thing that we wanted to touch on in terms of the tips for buying in a hot market is really moving confidently and quickly when the right one comes up.
Because good properties right now, especially in Brisbane, are selling after the first open home, maybe even before the first open home. So average days on market are coming down really quickly. So it's so important to do the prep work so that when you are ready to, you can have that confidence and you can take the action sooner rather than later.
In a market where prices have risen by 10% in the last year and are moving by more than 1% per month, which is pretty much every city in Australia right now and most of the regional markets, 2 things are going to happen in terms of the process for buying. Either you're going to find it earlier in the week and hopefully buy it on Thursday or Friday before the weekend. And even by Thursday or Friday in a hot market, they might already have somewhere between 3 and 8 offers. Or the agent, which is what they should be doing, will say, look, come and have a look. We're going to collect all of the offers on Saturday. And then on Saturday, they're going to again have somewhere between 3 and 20 offers. And you've just got to have your best hat in the ring. And the way that you have your best hat in the ring is knowing your market before you start looking. So what's sold on realestate.com?
Yep.
What's this property realistically worth against others? What can I afford and what am I prepared to pay? And then going, well, I'm prepared to pay 800K. If it sells for 850, that's cool. Shut the door, go find another one.
Man, I love that. And, I think it's really important to know your suburb and know your data, because I talk to so many people that are looking in areas where they've got unrealistic expectations. So maybe they're basing it off the median house price, or maybe they've looked at a couple of properties that are on main roads or small blocks that are selling at a cheaper range. So they think they can buy into this suburb, and then they end up spending months trying to find a property that it's just unrealistic to get it at a lower price, because, quality properties may be selling above the median, and sometimes it takes some time, especially in a hot market, for that median house price to catch up to where the actual market value is today.
It's funny you say that, man. We had a client that we've worked with previously that re-engaged us recently. They started to think about 9 months ago that the market was a little bit hot for them. They decided to, which we were happy to do, provide them with a refund, and they were just going to sit on and, in their words, wait for things to cool down. That suburb that they could have bought for 480K close to the city of Brisbane 9 months ago, houses are now selling for 700K. Now,
wow.
They decided to sit back because the market felt hot and they thought it was going to cool down. But what they weren't doing was overlaying the 20-year real estate cycle and understanding where Brisbane was at. And anybody that understands that cycle knows that there was significant upside this year and in coming years for particularly Brisbane coming off such a lower base, as well as places like Perth and Adelaide that are literally cheaper to buy now than they were 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah, that's really, really important. So, just because it's a hot market doesn't mean that it's a bad time to buy. It just means that you need to change your strategy and make sure that you know the best way to move forward. So I guess, is there some specific questions that you would be asking the real estate agent in a hot market?
Without a doubt, like negotiating is super important, and the more information you have, the better you can negotiate and hopefully buy that right property. Now, first question I ask, and I always do it in a cheeky way, I'm trying to have fun with them because their life can be hard when they're getting 200, 300 calls a week. So I'm like, what's your plan for this is my exact call script. Hey, it's Ben here from Pumped On Property. Hope you're doing well. Do you have a minute to talk about X address?
They're like, oh, not this guy again.
And then from there, they're like, cool. I'm like, look, just wanted to ask a couple of questions. My first question is, what's your plan for this property this week? Would your, the vendor be open to selling it before the weekend? Or are you going to take it to the open home? And then a good agent's going to say, well, either I'm going to sell it before the weekend for the right price or it's going to the weekend. And if they say before the weekend, I'm like, well, you've been working with your client for the last 5-6 weeks. Do you think if the right offer actually comes, they're going to accept it? Because I've noticed in this hot market that, even if we give them the perfect offer today, they're going to want more because it was all too easy.
Yeah, it happens so quickly as well. And I think this is why it's important to work with the top agents as well, because they know how to negotiate better. They know how to manage the expectations of the seller, and they know how to actually tell them when they've got the right offer in front of them as well. So, sometimes you can get that information and then know which agents you actually can go before the weekend, before the first open home, or which agents are going to hold that offer to use it to try and bring other people up.
That question is so important, right? Because in a hot market, every part of your human desire is, I want to buy this property today. And if you don't ask that question and you put your best offer today on Wednesday, without asking if the agent's going to sell it on Saturday, they're going to take your best offer happily and they're going to tell every single person that walks into the property that they've got this offer, and you're going to drive the market well past where you might have been able to buy on Saturday. So first question is, what's your plan for the property and how are you going to sell it and what do you think your client wants? Second question is, I've been looking on realestate.com, I'm just struggling to figure out a comparable sale. Is there a property that you're basing this off, or what do you think it's going to sell for, or what feedback have you been getting from the market? Now, a good agent's going to give you a property that's comparable, that's lower, because they're going to want to bring you in and jump you up, which is the name of the game for them. But, most agents aren't going to give you too much, and that's why doing your due diligence before it is so important. So if you've got a plan and you know what price point, realistically, and then I'll talk to the agent on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then I'll submit my best offer on Saturday. And if I lose it, I know there's another fish in the sea. Just move on and go get the next one.
That's the biggest thing because, let's say that it goes to multiple offers. The real estate agent comes back and goes, look, Ben, your offer was really great, but somebody's come in higher. You're going to need to increase your offer or tidy up the terms to purchase this property. It's really important to understand and know exactly where market value lies so that you don't get suckered in, so that you don't get played by the real estate agent and end up paying too much for that property. So having the confidence and having your line in the sand where you're just like, okay, cool, I only see value up to this particular level. As soon as it's going higher than that, I'm not even going to entertain it.
There's this incredible quote that I found recently, and I think it was from Abraham Lincoln, and he's like, give me 6 hours to cut down a tree, and I'll spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. Now, that is the name of the game in real estate. If you have a plan, know what you can borrow, get a pre-approval, know the market, choose one suburb, become a specialist of that suburb, and consistently look, I can guarantee, even in a hot as market, like this market has been insane since January this year. There have been weeks of the year, long weekends, winter.
Lockdowns
Where half of the market or 90% of the market, even in a hot market, disappears for that one weekend, and you can get an absolute bargain. And then 2 weeks later, the market's extremely hot again, or it's the time of the year when everyone's looking, and you're just going to pay market value. So if you're close enough to the market, you'll see these seasonal variations and human emotional variations. And when that weekend comes up, that lockdown weekend or whatever, take advantage of it before it opens back up and everyone can go have a look again.
Man, that's so true. Well, thanks so much for sharing. And look, would really appreciate, guys, if you could please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit the big red button below. We're posting lots of content, property-specific content for Australian real estate investors. But then we've also obviously got our social media like Instagram and Facebook. So head over to Pumped On Property, give us a like, give us a follow, and stay engaged with that content there, guys. And also, if you like that longer format videos, we do have the podcast on whichever platform you choose to listen to that. So go check out some of those things. And thanks so much for tuning in.
Sweaty. So sweaty. Oh, that's good.